I'm 26 now, but when I was 11, my older sister died in a scooting accident. She was 13. Her death shattered my family, but not in the way people might expect. There were no moments of unity, no shared comfort. Instead, from the start, I felt eyes on me, heavy with something unspoken, like I'd stolen her from them. It happened on a Saturday in our local park, on a paved path she'd ridden dozens of times. She was supposed to take a quick spin on her kick scooter, nothing unusual, but she didn't come back. I heard shouting, then sirens. A neighbor rushed over before the police, her face pale, saying my sister's scooter had veered off the path and down a steep hill near the woods. She didn't survive the crash. I was in my room, sketching in a notebook, when my parents burst in, yelling her name. The days after blurred together, but I noticed it early. The way they looked at me had changed. Their silence cut like a blade. My mother avoided my eyes. My father only spoke to me when he had to. I caught my name in their hushed whispers when they thought I wasn't listening. A week before the accident, my sister had been chosen for the school talent show, a dance routine she'd practiced for weeks. I'd auditioned too, with a live drawing performance, but I didn't make the cut. She was the star, always praised for her grace and focus. I was the kid who doodled in margins, got decent grades, but never shone like her. After she was gone, that difference became a shadow over me. No one ever said it outright, but the accusation was there, in the way they froze when I entered a room, the way conversation stopped. When I asked to help pick up her memorial bench for the park, my mother said it was already handled. When I wanted to light a candle at her vigil, she told me it was for those who respected her properly. Her room became a shrine. Her dance costumes, her scooter helmet, her school bag, all untouched. I was told not to go in, that I'd ruin her spirit. My mother said it calmly, like it was obvious I didn't belong there. A week after the funeral, motion sensor lights went up around the house, living room, kitchen, backyard. They said it was for protection, but we'd never needed it before. I wasn't allowed near her memorial bench in the park. When I pushed to visit, my mother snapped, calling me a reckless child. The label stuck. At school, things weren't better. I was sent to grief counseling, but they only asked how I felt about losing her, never what was happening at home. I didn't tell them. I was scared I'd make it worse, or that they'd believe I'd done something too. I asked for therapy more than once. My father said, "Only kids with something to hide need that." He started staying late at work, his car pulling in past midnight. He stopped eating dinner with us, sometimes not speaking to me for days. The community turned too. A local newsletter printed a vague note about the accident, hinting at carelessness without naming me. Neighbors stopped inviting me to park picnics. A family friend who used to host barbecues every summer told my parents I gave bad vibes. One day, walking home, I saw a woman I knew well, someone who used to give us homemade lemonade, hurry her kids across the street to avoid me. Even relatives kept their distance. Cousins who once played with me now acted cautious, their parents hovering nearby. The hardest part was starting to believe them. I had no memory of doing anything wrong, but their reactions made me doubt myself. Had I said something to upset her? Had I dared her to ride that day? The doubt wasn't guilt, it was rot spreading quietly. I stopped talking at school, quit drawing, lost interest in everything. When friends invited me out, I made excuses. I thought staying away from people would keep me from hurting anyone else. That's the version of me my parents shaped. Silent, suspicious, always tiptoeing. I'm 26 now. A few weeks ago, I reconnected with an old park playmate I hadn't seen in years. Over coffee, they hesitated, then said their parents believed I dared my sister to scoot too fast down that hill. They'd been told to keep their distance. The rumor wasn't new, but hearing it out loud hit hard. They looked guilty, saying they only realized recently how unfair it was. I waited a day, then drove to my parents' house. I didn't yell. I just asked if they thought I'd killed her. My mother looked away, muttering I'd always been reckless. My father stared ahead and said, "We'll never know what really happened." That night, I packed my things, left, and blocked their numbers, emails, everything. No scene, no letter, just gone. I started reaching out to others. I told old friends, cousins, anyone who'd listen, what it was like growing up under suspicion, barred from grieving, treated like I might snap. Some ignored me, but others listened. An uncle sent me an old scrapbook my sister kept, one I'd never seen. Inside was a note scribbled days before her death. "I don't like that hill, but Dad says I'm ready." It stopped me cold. I also found a faded photo from the park that day, her standing by her scooter, arms crossed, looking uneasy. I showed it to a neighbor who'd lived next door back then. She paused, then said my sister had once complained her scooter's brake felt loose. The neighbor offered to check it, but my father said he'd already fixed it. I started therapy for the first time. My therapist read the note, saw the photo, and said it pointed to emotional neglect, maybe worse. She called it a clear case of scapegoating. I began sketching again, pouring memories into an online art page, not a blog, where I shared drawings of the park, the scooter, the hill. I invited others to share their stories through art. The response was overwhelming. Strangers sent sketches and messages, saying they'd been blamed for accidents, cut off from families, labeled as trouble. Their stories echoed mine: blame without proof, silence instead of support. I visited her memorial bench alone, sketching her scooter under the park's oak trees as the sun set. For the first time, I felt like she was my sister again, not a ghost I was accused of creating. I tracked down a family friend who'd been at the park that day. Their widow showed me a photo album with a shot of my sister, helmet unbuckled, staring at the hill. She asked to ride alone, but my father insisted we go together, contradicting the story they'd told of us laughing side by side. Then my cousin found an old SD card in my sister's school stuff. A data recovery shop pulled a voice note from the night before. Her voice, quiet, said, "I don't want to go, the hill makes me nervous. Dad fixed the bike, but he'll be upset if I back out." I didn't share it publicly. I just listened over and over. It wasn't about me. She was scared but rode to please him. I took everything, note, photo, voice note, to a lawyer specializing in family trauma. He said too much time had passed for a case, but the evidence was undeniable. Instead of a lawsuit, I organized a small memorial for her birthday at the park. My cousin, half-brother, and a few old classmates came. We lit candles by her bench. I read a letter to her, apologizing for not questioning their story sooner, for not protecting her truth. Saying her name felt like breaking a spell. Days later, my parents sent a cease and desist letter, claiming my art page defamed them. I forwarded it to my therapist and kept sharing. Their letter only proved the truth scared them. The art page grew into a virtual gallery. People sent drawings of their own pain, siblings lost, blame carried. A podcast on family estrangement featured my story anonymously, playing her voice note. It spread fast, sparking the term scapegoat child online. A girl from her class messaged me, saying her parents warned her I was dangerous after the accident. She remembered my sister saying she didn't want to ride but couldn't say no to our father. My old school counselor showed me a sketch my sister drew a year before. Two kids on scooters, one falling, captioned, "He doesn't want to go either." She filed a concern, but my parents shut it down. I started a manuscript, Scapegoat Child, surviving blame after tragedy, blending my story with others' accounts and trauma research. A civil rights group helped publish it, using a cover with my sister's sketch of two scooters on a hill. My parents sent another cease and desist. My legal team dismissed it. Everything was documented, redacted, airtight. The book launched quietly in a gallery with my cousin, half-brother, and aunt there. I announced a nonprofit in my sister's name, offering therapy for kids facing scapegoating or grief. My old counselor joined the advisory board. A documentary, Buried in Blame, followed, using the park photo and voice note to show her fear. It went viral in trauma spaces. My aunt gave me old photos of us laughing, painting, her arm over me on a couch, a truth their narrative erased. A neighbor's journal entry called her my protector. I read it at a private service, her name no longer a shadow. I returned to the park with my half-brother and my dog, placing yellow wildflowers by the hill and a carved plank. "I didn't protect you, but I'll protect your truth." The book's final chapter printed her note, unedited, her fear laid bare. My last gallery post read, "This story started with silence, but it ends with voice. Her name is a vow I'll keep."